Hello! I'd like to share with you an auditory strategy that can help your child develop their listening and spoken language skills. Today we're going to talk about expansion. Sometimes it's also called extension, two interchangeable terms for the same strategy. So what expansion is rephrasing what a child says in a more correct, complete, or complex way. So why is this important? Why do we want to use it? We want to use it because when we model longer and more correct phrases, we create more listening opportunities for our child. This can help them develop their vocabulary as well as help them to start to use longer phrases on their own. This is one of my favorite strategies because it's really easy to implement into your everyday interactions and conversations with your child, regardless of what level they're at with their auditory skill development or their expressive language development. You can use expansion if your child is using complex phrases and sentences. There's always more information and more complexity that you can add. Or even if your child's using single words, you can still use expansion. It's a great strategy for a lot of reasons, and there's different ways that we can use it. So one of the reasons that it's so nice is because it's focused on what the children are interested in. So because we're expanding on something they say first, we know they're interested in it because they brought it up. They also don't have to repeat, and this is an important piece to remember when you're using this strategy, is when we expand on our child's utterance, so when we expand on what they've said, we are not necessarily expecting them to then repeat what we have said. We're not trying to get them to fix it right away and repeat what we're offering. Think of it more as just providing that listening opportunity for them to hear their own words given back to them with a little bit more. So there's different ways we can do this by turning a question into a statement, adding information, or maybe rephrasing with a correction. So let me give you some examples. One example might be a child might say, doggy brown. So 2 words, there's different things that you could do to expand on that, but you might say, yes, the doggy is brown and he's dirty. So your child said doggy brown, you're adding in that is, which makes it a more grammatically correct phrase. The doggy is brown, and adding a little bit of extra information, and he's dirty. And of course, when we do that, we want to pay attention to our pacing and use that acoustic highlighting. Did you hear how I said, yes, the doggy is brown? Kind of putting that little bit of extra emphasis on is, on that new word that we want to add in. So another nice thing about expansion, another reason why it can be so effective, is because what we're giving them is so similar to what they've already produced. It's easier for them to kind of analyze and understand. So not only do we know they're already interested in the topic because they brought it up, that new information or maybe correction that we're offering, that we're giving that model of, is going to be easier for them to pay attention to from an auditory standpoint and from a language learning standpoint, because it's based off of something that they already know how to say. So another example of maybe a longer phrase might be your child might say, Tommy, go to lunch now. And you might say, yes, you're right. Tommy is going to lunch now. He'll be back soon. So you could expand things like Tommy go with, yeah, Tommy is going. It might also be correcting a different type of grammatical mistake. Maybe they said, she going to the store. And you could say, oh, he's going to the store, if they used she instead of he, or vice versa. Maybe your child's using one word, like pointing to a ball and saying ball, or dropping their sippy cup and saying, uh-oh, and you could say, uh-oh, the cup fell down. Or they're pointing to the ball and saying ball, and you could say, yeah, it's a red ball. Should we put the ball down the slide? So it's a really simple concept of just when your child says something, taking what they said and adding onto it, adding some more words, adding some more complexity, or adding a small correction. So think about ways that you could maybe implement this strategy at home with your child. And I have some handouts that kind of summarize what I've talked about that will also be available.